We are audiostack.ai.
Combining AI writing, the best synthetic voices,
with production and delivery.
Be it ads, podcasts, or VOs for video.
Just like this ad.
How would you utilize AI audio? For free.
Go to audiostack.ai/contest.
Give us just a few details.
And you could replace this spot and be heard by millions.
See webpage for T's and C's. audiostack.ai/contest.
We are audiostack.ai.
Combining AI writing, the best synthetic voices,
with production and delivery.
Be it ads, podcasts, or VOs for video.
Just like this ad.
How would you utilize AI audio? For free.
Go to audiostack.ai/contest.
Give us just a few details.
And you could replace this spot and be heard by millions.
See webpage for T's and C's. audiostack.ai/contest.
We are audiostack.ai.
Combining AI writing, the best synthetic voices,
with production and delivery.
Be it ads, podcasts, or VOs for video.
Just like this ad.
How would you utilize AI audio? For free.
Go to audiostack.ai/contest.
Give us just a few details.
And you could replace this spot and be heard by millions.
See webpage for T's and C's. audiostack.ai/contest.
Good evening. This is Slogging It. The three morons back together. We have managed to record a week later, which will be a surprise to everybody, not least ourselves. But yeah, we are back together. Yeah, plenty to talk about. There is the World Cup. There is something that Simon's very passionate, well, we're all very passionate about, but Simon's going to lead off with in a moment. But first off, as we do, quick roundup of what we've been doing over the past 7 days. Eugene.
Work, and more work. How is everyone?
Any cricket?
Yes, cricket is on the back burner because we can't seem to win a game in our second 11, unfortunately. We were chasing 289 or 45 overs and came third, unfortunately.
Right. How many did you actually manage to amass?
I amassed a total of 6 runs.
And as a unit?
No, as individuals.
6 runs.
And as a unit, we scored about 200, somewhere around there. So, yeah.
Okay. Did you try and hob it over Cow Corner again like you did last week?
I tried to hob it everywhere, but yeah, I just kept clothing it for one. It must be the equipment, right, Johnno? It's got nothing to do with the willower.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you, Eugene. Simon.
I went to a wedding last Friday, got very drunk, and then went to your lad's second birthday party. Didn't have a drink.
Very nice. Yeah, you'd had a few on Friday.
It was at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that's true. Any stories from any dancing?
Lots of it. I danced with the bride's grandma for a while.
Perfect. Were you sick on her shoes or just your own?
No, I don't think so. I think she'd gone to bed at that point. I was sick on the dance floor. So,
no, dearie. Yeah, absolute shocker. Absolutely.
A lovely time was had by all.
Yes. That almost as funny as there's a bloke who's an electrician. He's done some of our extension work. Who went to a wedding last week, a lad called Josh, and there's photos of him asleep, literally like absolutely battered at 8 o'clock in the evening, just sprawled out on a sofa in the reception. So yeah, we've all been there. We've all done it. Some more than others. Hand up from me for those who aren't watching. But yes, yeah. My little boy was 2 this week. We did have his party on Sunday, which was very, very enjoyable. And yeah, other than that, a bit of golf, bit of work, some very good golf, some very poor golf. But yeah, I'm running a cricket podcast, and I feel like the only thing I can really talk about these days is golf because I'm not playing a lot of cricket. However, I am going down to play at the wonderful Charterhouse School on Thursday for the MCC. So excited to get down there and get whacked everywhere by a load of 18-year-old kids and probably mopped up for not many. And that'll be worth 8 hours in the car. Yeah, I hope they provide a nice lunch and a nice tea, quite frankly, and that'll do me fine. So moving on then and into the episode, Simon, obviously we talked about this last week, but I think we wanted to, rather than talk about the end of the show, really wanted to talk about it at the top of the show. Obviously I shared something with you two gents. I don't know if you want to kind of highlight that to people so people can search that out, but something that's really, really key to what we're about and something that we really need people to get involved with this week.
Yeah, obviously last week we mentioned the goal for Grayson Murray, and the bit there was an Australian chap that doesn't really like golf from the way I've seen the bits and bobs, but he talks about Grayson Murray very poignantly, and he talks about this disease that we obviously are trying their best to get people talking about, which is depression, anxiety, and he just brought about some very interesting stats, which were based around Australia, but are pretty much standard worldwide, certainly in the Western world, which is, it is the biggest killer of certainly males between the age of 15 and 44 is suicide. And 75% of those are, it's the biggest killer of all people between the ages of 15 and 44. And 75% of those are male suicides. So, like, we just need to, if it's Men's Mental Health Week, I think it's actually Men's Health Week, but a lot of people are using that as a mental health reminder. And it's just to say to chat to your friends. And one of the big things that I've been looking through this week, I've actually been asked a few questions through one of my roles at work and various different other bits that I do. He's talking about how companies and how people can promote it, which I think is a really interesting topic. And it kind of shows where people are taking it, because people still don't know. Like, enough people are saying it, but these companies and these places just still don't quite know what to do. And that's just get people talking about it. Get a support structure based in if you own a company and you've not got an employee assistance program, or you've not got access to these kind of things, that most charities will offer them for you for nothing. It's just a case of putting some posters up around at work, and all of a sudden people will see that you're actually trying and that you're caring, and that can bring it out of people. And that's like, just keep making people aware that you are there to help, you are there for support, and ask your mates how you're getting on, ask the people that you work with how they're getting on, what's going on in their lives. And I think it's really important that, especially this week, but not just this week, in general, ask people how they're getting on, check in on people. If you've not spoke to a mate for a while, I sometimes use it as a bit of an excuse for some of my friends. I go, well, I know they're my mates, so it doesn't matter if I don't speak to them for a bit. And I had a bit of a think to myself the other day and go, right, no, actually, I've not spoken to a really close friend of mine for 3 months. And that's too long. That is too long, because I don't know what he's going through. And if he is going through, he might not be going through anything. I don't know. But just check in on people and just ask them if they're all right. And if you're not feeling great, there are people out there. There's help, support. If you're fortunate enough to be in a position where you are in charge of a company, then for fuck's sake, get stuff put in place where, like, it can help your employees out. Because the last thing you want to do is think that you could have done something more. And one thing that this guy says in this chat that really stuck with me is everyone around him that week, everyone around Grayson Murray that week wouldn't have had a clue.
No.
And that's why the only thing you can do is ask. It's how you getting on, make sure stuff's available for them, and go from there.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, mate. I think the thing from watching that, obviously I sent it to you guys with I was just said, wow, didn't I? I was like, the fella Jack, I've not seen much of him before. I don't know exactly who he is, but maybe you guys could let people know exactly how they can find this. But, he talks about how, he suffers with depression and anxiety, and, he's in a public facing role, isn't he, through hosting a radio show and stuff. And, everybody's fallible. Everybody's got their own issues. Everybody's wearing a mask to some degree. You obviously don't know everything about everybody at all times. And that's why it's important to keep letting people know that there are support networks available, and that, to talk about stuff is a good thing, and it's not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength. So yeah, but search it out. It's I don't know if either of you guys can. What's this fella's name?
Jimmy and Nath. They're a
Oh,
radio.
Jimmy Nate, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's it. But yeah, have a look at it, and you'll be able to find it on their Instagram profile, and it's a very kind of striking piece to camera, really, that this guy does. That's probably 2, 3, maybe 4 minutes long, but it just grabs you, and it's just, yeah, you know, you kind of feel yourself getting kind of quite emotional about it. I certainly did when I was watching it, and it's very, very powerful piece of media. So, but yeah, as Simon says, and as Eugene and I wholeheartedly agree with, like, just check in with people, like, and you know, you can't force people to talk to you about stuff if they are struggling, but just it's something as simple as just saying, look, you know, if anything is ever going on, then, you know, all you need to do is pick up the phone, just remember that I'm there, and stuff like that makes a massive difference to people, just so they don't feel like they're on their own. Right, getting into the episode, gentlemen. I mean, quite a lot to get through. The World Cup, in a lot of ways, has become quite interesting, but for a lot of probably quite weird, in a lot of weird ways. I mean, you know, we got the pitch in New York. South Africa are obviously, I think, 3 from 3, but, you know, some pretty tight games. They've only gotten over the line by 4 runs today. You know, England will obviously come on to, Scotland will come on to. Mottler out is my new hashtag. That's Matthew Mott and Jos Buttler, for those who haven't been able to figure that out just yet. But, you know, we'll dive into England in probably a bit more depth. But, you know, Eugene, let's start with you, because you're the much happier of the three of us to this point during the World Cup. You know, some pretty sticky spots. You've been kind of 4 down early in most of the games, but still, you know, it must be quite heartening for you that they've gotten over the line and got 6 points on the board.
Yeah, I would say much happier of the three of us. However, I would also say probably the more stressed of the three, with the way that South Africa have performed. Look, the first game they played pretty well, you know, beat Sri Lanka quite convincingly. Made quite hard work of it, I guess, you know, only chasing a small total, but then got there in the end. Obviously, I thought the Dutch on Saturday, I thought they'd pretty much done us. And then, you know, thankfully, Miller and Tristan Stubbs took us over the line, which was good to see. You know, they put together a good partnership. Miller just seems to save South Africa. And then today, Miller and the 3 people that saved us were Miller, Klaassen, and the umpire. For those of you that don't know what happened, and the reason I say the umpire, there was a decision today where one of our bowlers appealed for an LBW. The decision was given out. However, the ball did go for 4 leg byes. So upon review, obviously the ball is now marked dead. Therefore, the 4 byes do not stand. So,
oh wow! I didn't know this, and obviously you guys told me about it off air, but we didn't actually go into it. So that's the first time I've heard that. Christ.
Yeah. So, you know, considering, and look, I mean, would they have played differently when they only needed, you know, a handful of runs off the last over? I think they needed 12 off the last over with Maharaj bowling. I mean, some unbelievable catching. I thought we'd lost the game in the, you know, third to last ball when Mamazula hit the ball, a full toss from Maharaj, looked like it was sailing for 6, and Captain Markram plucks it out the air as if it was going over the boundary for 6. And, you know, that sort of won us the game to some degree. Still needed 6 off the last ball, and then Maharaj bowled another full toss, and this only goes for 1. So all I can say is, if to any spinners out there, yeah, shit gets wickets, because that's what Maharaj's line was.
The old adage of just making it bounce didn't seem to apply to Maharaj in the last over. He bowled 3 full Ps, and all of them got twatted to long on.
I mean, and he's a fine bowler as well. I mean, we've talked, you know, very highly of him in this podcast for a long time.
He just had a bad day with the ball. Well, I say that. He had a really good day with the ball with 3 overs, and then was asked to bowl. I think he was just trying to bowl Yorkers, but was just missing the mark. I mean, he must have been under a bit of pressure, though, because in the last over when he was batting, he did face 4 dot balls against the
Fizz. He did. I saw that.
So, you know, 113 we didn't think was enough. Another 10 runs and we would have been a little more happier. But yeah, look, 3 from 3, we're happy with it. We still haven't qualified because the net run rate isn't that great, and who knows, Nepal could win their next 3 games and sort of knock us out of the Super 8 stages. So, you know, crazier things have happened, as we'll talk about in the other groups now.
What's going on with at the top of the order there? I mean, any concerns there as we start approaching the later end of the tournament, or are we just thinking the boys will come good?
I mean, you watch the balls that got the guys out. I mean, you look at the way the cock got out. Ball just didn't bounce, cleaned him up. An absolute snorter of a delivery that cleaned up Markram. Yeah, look, maybe Hendricks is maybe one of those that you could possibly say maybe it's time to give somebody else a go, but it's just been a really tough wicket on to bat on. I mean, we were talking about this off air and how many runs had been scored in the different games over there, and I think between 75 and 130 has been scored at New York. So it's just a really, really tough wicket. And for those that watched the India versus Pakistan game last night, India defended 119 against Pakistan, and it looked like Pakistan were cruising, but it just gets harder and harder to bat on as the the game progresses. So look, I'm glad to see the back of New York. It hasn't been the greatest of wickets, even though they flew it in all the way from Australia. And I actually asked you guys off air, was any of the group stage or the Super 8 stages going to be played in New York? And thankfully your answer was no. Once they finish these group stages in New York, that's that. So I'm personally happy to see the back of it.
I just think it'll be interesting going into. There is still easily 2 or 3 more games at New York, which is I think the most of them are the teams down the bottom end. So it's not. I think India have still got to play one game. India played the USA there actually. So and you look at what's been going off. I don't think that will have a massive impact on the group, but it'll be interesting to see how guys sort of start playing there, because there's been a lot of stuff made with certainly some slower bowlers and stuff where the ball has been on all the pitches. To be fair, you look at that wicket England played on the other day against Australia when Salt got bowled trying to cut the slow bowlers, and it just doesn't cross batted shots off don't seem to be the ones to play on these pitches. So are we maybe going to start seeing people look? Everyone's got this thing, obviously. I mean, there was more runs scored in one IPL game than there was in 3 games in New York. That's the kind of things we're talking about. But are people going to have to sort of start looking at it and going, right, all of a sudden 150, 160, maybe when we get to the back end of the tournament into the Caribbean, some fresher pitches in the Caribbean, it might change a little bit. But are people going to have to start saying, look, maybe 145, a bit like it was when T20 first kind of came in and about? Or are we going to start going, right, maybe 135, 140 is a competitive score?
Possibly. I think do you remember, I just thought back to when England won in 2010. I think they chased maybe 150, 160 against Australia in the final. But I think that's absolutely a massive possibility. I mean, we're going to come on to England in a minute. I want to talk about Pakistan. I mean, but also the US, because the US came into, none of us knew anything about them. Obviously, my ears pricked up and my eyes, almost popped out on stalks, when we talked about that, the first game of the tournament against Canada, when they chased 196, I think, to win, and Aaron Jones pumped 94 off 40 balls. But then they really announced themselves on the global stage by beating Pakistan, right? And I think they must still have at least 2 more games left the USA. I think they've only played those 2 so far. But I guess the bigger question is, why do Pakistan, and how do Pakistan, for such a talented group, keep flattering to deceive at these kind of global tournaments? What? I don't understand what keeps happening to them. We talked off air, didn't we, Huge, about, you watched the interview after the first game with Babar Azam, and he's just absolutely filled his bowlers in, really, hasn't he? But I mean, he can't believe it, and we can't believe it. Looking at their lineup, they've obviously got the Michelin man. He's been bumped out. Azam, the keeper. Obviously, Rizwan's keeping again. But for such a talented group, I can't quite believe how poorly they're performing.
It depends how many conspiracy theories you want to go with this Pakistan side. Like you say, they're unbelievably talented, and there's always going to be people because of previous injustices that haven't just been committed by Pakistan. Let's be honest. It hasn't. There has been multiple players from around the world that have had issues with approaches and things like that. But that's something that's always going to be leveled at Pakistan, especially when they capitulate in the way that they do. So I just, it always seems weird for me watching Pakistan play. They want when that you watch them play against England in England. But yeah, they didn't look great in that kind of two-test series. But if you watch them previously before, they've always seemed to rock up. Like it was always, you knew it was going to be a tough game. It was, but then they'd play the US or they'd play an island or they'd play or whatever, and they'd just be nowhere near. At the end of the day, you look at that 11. In fact, you don't even have to look at 11. You look at 5 players that they've got in that side, and they've already got two of the best T20 batters in the world.
Yeah,
Barber and Rizwan.
Yeah,
and they've got 3 of the top 10 quick bowlers.
Yeah,
you'd say, like, and you could form an argument. There's 3 of the top. Well, 2 of them certainly are in the top 5.
Yeah,
Mohammad Amir coming back in. No one ever quite know. Like, don't quite know what you're going to get. But so they should be doing better. And I think Barber was quite right to spray his bowlers the other day. Like, they didn't rock up. But unfortunately, Pakistan have got a history of doing this in tournaments. They're either going to be in the final or they're going to be out of the group stages. There doesn't seem to be this kind of they've lost one and then they'll work hard to win the next 2 or 3. They don't, or they've won 3 and then they have a bit of a low point and then they come back again. It doesn't seem to happen. They're either unbelievable or woeful. And it doesn't matter who the coach is. It doesn't matter who the captain's been. It doesn't matter any of that. Since I can remember watching Pakistan, that's always how it's been. They've had unbelievable. Like, you think of the likes of Shoaib Akhtar in that World Cup in '99 when they had that side there with Inzamam and all these guys. The 50-over World Cup. You look at some of the players they've had and some of the results that they've had. It's just unbelievable.
Any thoughts, Hughes?
Yeah, I mean, they just seem to take South Africa's choking and do it a lot earlier. It's what I sort of come up with. I mean, I feel sorry for them to some degree. I mean, I watched them against the USA and how they managed to lose that game was just bonkers. You know, in the super over, 10 runs were scored off the bat and 8 were extras because they were throwing the ball when they could have just held on to it. It was one of those strange things. You could just see the panic everywhere. And unfortunately, that's just the way it feels like Pakistan now. I mean, how they managed to get it to a super over in the first instance was through panic and, you know, overthrows, etc., etc. But look, I thought they'd sort of resolved that and come out the back of it when I was watching them play against India. But, you know, true form to India's bowlers, they pulled it out the hat. So from my perspective, yeah, I wouldn't read too much into the second game, but the first game, yeah, that was pretty tough to watch when they were playing against USA, should I say?
I don't think. I mean, I don't. Knowing everything that they've been through as a country, certainly within cricket, I would hate to think that there's anything untoward going on nowadays in terms of match fixing and stuff. I don't really think that's the case, but yeah, they just seem to conspire to lose from relative positions of strength quite a lot, more so than most people. I know obviously South Africa wear that chain around the neck, but that's probably more so people just trying to wind them up than anything. Although they have,
and that's also just in a semi-final.
Well, yeah, yeah. Obviously, you know, lover of the podcast, and you know, as a podcast we love him, Gary Kirsten. If Pakistan go out in the group stage, does Gary Kirsten still have a job?
Yes, he's going to be the coach of England.
That's ruined my quiz for later.
Oh, damn, sorry. I look, I can't see. Yes, and I don't know, actually. Maybe. It's a tough one to ask.
Pakistan is strange, though, aren't they? I mean, you know, you think back to that Test series when England went over to Pakistan, and yes, we absolutely walloped them. But Ramiz Raja, who is one of the biggest stars of Pakistani cricket historically, I think was on the board or chairman of selectors or something at that time. Anyway, we go 2 or 3-0 up and they just binned him. But there's no, it's just the way in which they do things, I think, is quite odd. Like, it's just they just get rid of people, but there's no real process of how it's done. It's just like 1 minute you're in and 1 minute you're not.
Well, I'm just saying, last time, you're going to have to give me a minute here. Last time, there was a South African coach of a Pakistan team.
No. Don't do it. Don't do it. Do not open that can of worms. Do not do it. Do not do it.
Guess what? It was in the same region of the world.
Yeah. Bob Woolmer.
I mean, it might be in the same freaking hotel.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We're not opening. We're not getting into that unless it happens, and then we'll be like, right, we were the first to call it.
I mean, it'll be struck off my list for the next England white ball coach anyway. Then
right. So yes, moving on. I mean, we do have to talk about England. I mean, I put on Twitter. I can't call it X. I just think that's fucking wank. Hashtag Mottler out the other day. I mean, what do we think? I mean, we've been quite openly critical of Buttler as a captain, and just the fact that he doesn't inspire. I don't think he'd inspire a fucking piece of toast personally, but I've never been in that dressing room. But the fact that he says, "Oh, I bowled Will Jacks on a gut instinct." Well, okay, Moeen Ali is a fine white ball bowler, right? Moeen Ali turning it away from the left-handers, but if they were going to slog sweep, was to the long side into the wind. He then bowls a part-timer who's bowled 2 T20 international overs for England before, yes, turning it away from the left-handers, but who typically bowls it a bit more up and over, slower and straighter than Moeen, to the short boundary, hitting with the wind. I mean, that's nuts, first of all. Why do England always want to chase as well? Always want to chase. And the reason I ask that is, if you've got, you look at that Australian bowling attack, if they've watched 20 overs from the sidelines, they can very, very quickly adapt their bowling plans to suit what they've already seen, especially from what we saw on that first innings, and how Archer cleaned Travis Head up, who got Warner? Was that Moeen? It was when it were one that stayed a bit low. You're going, oh, fucking hell, he's cutters all day. And as soon as I saw Archer's wicket when he got Travis Head, I was like, oh fuck, we're in trouble here. Because they will have seen that, and straight away they're going, right, okay, we're just going to bowl into the pitch all day long, and they're not going to get anywhere near it, especially with it once they posted their score. I mean, we had 2 bowlers go for 22, one of which was Mark Wood, who just kept bowling at Warner's leg stump, and Warner's going, cheers, thanks very much. I mean, what? It's not over for England. They've got Scotland. Between their net run rate currently and Scotland's net run rate, it's about 4 is the difference. So they've got a lot of work to do. Yes, we're playing Namibia and Oman, but like, what do we think? Are you two as frustrated with as I am with this? Come to you here first, Huge.
We are audiostack.ai.
Combining AI writing, the best synthetic voices,
with production and delivery.
Be it ads, podcasts, or VOs for video.
Just like this ad.
How would you utilize AI audio? For free.
Go to audiostack.ai/contest.
Give us just a few details.
And you could replace this spot and be heard by millions.
See webpage for T's and C's. audiostack.ai/contest.
We are audiostack.ai.
Combining AI writing, the best synthetic voices,
with production and delivery.
Be it ads, podcasts, or VOs for video.
Just like this ad.
How would you utilize AI audio? For free.
Go to audiostack.ai/contest.
Give us just a few details.
And you could replace this spot and be heard by millions.
See webpage for T's and C's. audiostack.ai/contest.
We are audiostack.ai.
Combining AI writing, the best synthetic voices,
with production and delivery.
Be it ads, podcasts, or VOs for video.
Just like this ad.
How would you utilize AI audio? For free.
go to audiostack.ai/contest.
Give us just a few details.
And you could replace this spot and be heard by millions.
See webpage for T's and C's. audiostack.ai/contest.
Yeah, it's strange decisions again. And we mentioned this the last time that England were playing when Buttler captaining. You just I don't understand the decision making in it. Look, I think the selection has been spot on this time. I know we had a couple of questions around selection the last time we had these discussions. I just think, some of the decisions that have been made. I will say this, though. England have lost to a very good Australian side. Sometimes you just get beat. And, another day when he opens up with... Who did he open up with? He opened up with two spinners, right?
Yeah, Moeen followed by Will Jacks. But Moeen only went three.
And then he opened up with Will Jacks. And I think if maybe he thought he could get away with the over of Will Jacks because it's, early doors, maybe that would have worked. It didn't work. And look, I know he says he felt like it might have worked. I guess that would have been a tactic early doors. That wouldn't have been something that he just thought there and then he's going to do. I think that was a tactic that they'd spoken about in the changing room. But hey.
Do we think, Simon, that obviously Reece Topley, who's got a phenomenal record at the top against opening batters, taking it away from the left-hander, so the left-hander specifically, no Sam Curran, who we know bowls decent variations and wickets like this would probably suit him, but also the lack of left-handed batters. So, you and I discussed yesterday, we've got the top four batters who are all openers, who all want to open. So two of them are automatically batting out of position. But it's so right-hand heavy. They're like, why did they not go to what? I don't understand why they didn't go. Oh, Mo, you could bat at 3 today because we want that right and left-hand combination.
Well, they did, didn't they? They sent him in
He didn't go in until 5.
4 or 5.
5.
I think he did. No, did he go 4? Yeah, whichever. So they obviously sent him in before they were going to.
Yeah, he was due to bat 6. He batted 5.
Yeah. So. I'm a bit torn with it. I think England were poor against Scotland in that 10 overs. I actually don't mind if there's very few. If you were going to sit there and you go, right, you've got Head and Warner, who notoriously play quick bowling well. Moeen bowls the first over and it goes for 3. Right. I don't mind him bowling jacks. Like, I don't mind that. It backfired, and it's one of those decisions where if he comes on and bowls an over that goes for 10, everyone's like, yeah, fair enough. We've got through that over 13 off 2. Unfortunately, he went for 22. And what then happened was you saw Buttler start to question every other decision in the process because he then went, right, we're either going to bowl seamers or we're going to bowl spinners. He then went, Archer comes in, bowls an over for 8. Right, now what do we need? We've just had a goal ball at 90 miles an hour. What do we need? Get the other guy on who's bowling at 90 miles an hour. Right, well, Warner's on strike here and he's going to keep donging him over fine leg. Like, it just seemed to lead. And you could tell by how he was behaving that he got a bit like, oh, crap. But all of a sudden, he's running the length. He's running 60 meters to go and speak to his bowler, which then leads to the debacle at the end of the innings when we then can't have enough fielders in the right places. Your plans have all gone to shit. That's the bit for me that I question. I don't actually mind the Jacks thing bowling. Yeah, it didn't work, mate. I think there's a lot of captains, especially a captain, and this is where he's slightly different from Morgan, and he will always be criticised for this because he's constantly striving to feel the game. He's not someone like Morgan who naturally felt where it was or seemed to make the right choice at the right time. Morgan had a gift for that, reading the game, seeing what's going off, and just instantly seeming to make the right one. Unfortunately, Buttler, hasn't always had those decisions go for him in the way that Morgan did have. Now, that can be down to a multitude of things, but I don't mind that. For me, I disagree, Eugene. I don't think this election's right, because especially when we're going to somewhere where the ball doesn't fly onto the bat. So what you don't need, you can't have 6 guys, your 6 main batters just being dashers. Like, it doesn't work. Like, if the ball's not, like, you've seen, I have no problem with Phil Salt and Jos Buttler, and I've got no problem. I personally think they will pick Curran for the next game, and he should bat 5, like they used him in the IPL.
Yeah.
Because he gives them that option of a cutter bowler. I'd argue as to who he goes in instead of. I quite like the idea of having the 3 spinners as well as that extra bowling option, because if you've got Wood and you've got Archer with express pace, who I like both of them, like, if you pick Curran as that guy who's going to go in the middle of, or move Moeen up like they tried to, do something like that, buy him at 4. But I would be tempted to drop either a Jax or a Bairstow. I wouldn't necessarily drop Bairstow because I think he's a better player of spin than Jax. Move everyone else up 1 and put Curran in at 4, at 5 or 6, because I think then your options are so much more. I'd also, Phil Salt, you're opening you're keeping, mate.
Yeah. I know. Well, that was one of my next questions.
Get Buttler out in the field where he can be more communicative. But it's finding white ball cricket where you've normally got 2 slips for a lot of the game, or you've got a slip and whatever for a lot of the game, and you've got more time. I think in that I don't think he's a bad captain. I think he's actually quite a good captain. He's just not had the things work out.
Yeah.
I think there's a disconnect between him and Mott. I think Mott wants to plan. There's
a lot of people.
Eventualities, we've got that.
Yeah. A lot of people think that Matthew.
Whereas I think Buttler wants to try and feel the game a bit more and go, right, okay, I think this might work. All right, that's not worked. And then he just needs someone there, which Stokes is very good at. Stokes is a more confident captain than a Buttler. I think they're both quite similar, but Stokes has ultimate faith in what he's doing. Whereas I think Buttler maybe doesn't, to a certain extent, and that comes across. So does he need that vice captain that goes, no, yeah, fair enough. Like that's a good choice. That's a good choice. We executed poorly, but that was a good choice. You stick with it and keep going.
Just come back on a couple of things that you've mentioned there. So obviously, a lot of people say that Matthew Mott, he does overthinks things. And I was having a conversation with someone today, and we were talking about this. And I said, well, yeah, I mean, he could overthink everything as much as he wanted when he was the coach of the Australian women's side, because they're so much better than everybody else that they were never going to lose a game anyway. So, you know, that gave him a huge comfort blanket in order to, you know, even if the things didn't work, they were so much better than everybody else anyway. It never made a blind bit of difference. Coming back to the Will Jacks thing about not minding, you know, look, sometimes you try things as a captain, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. My only question would be, knowing that they were hitting with the wind to the short side, why has he not said to him, right, it's not going to turn massively because you're bowling with a ball that's only 6 balls old. I want you to bowl 1.5 foot outside off stump and make them hit you there. Like, but you can, and lads at this level should be able to adjust. So you say,
I get what you're saying, but that's as much on Jax. That's as much on Jax as it is on.
Well, depending if he set him a deep mid wicket. Well, set him a deep extra cover and a long on, and just tell him to dong it outside.
Yeah, but it's you're talking about some of the best batters in the world facing a guy who's running and bowling at 55 miles an hour.
Yeah, but it's much harder.
Like they can step. They're just going to fetch him. Their sole plan was to fetch him. But you saw that from ball 1 before he'd even let go of it. Warner's gone down like that, and he's just like, right, wherever you try and land it, I'm trying to beam you that way. And all he's hoping is Buttler is hoping. He knows what's coming.
Yeah.
That's a plan that Butler's gone in and gone, right, it works there. Butler would have looked at that and gone, right, they're going to try and hit you that way. If I can get one to skid, stop, anything with you trying to do that, Moeen has bowled well. Different bowlers and not. He's gone, gut feeling, I think he's got this in the locker. It's just making me just shut one up the shoot, or one skids through and he's out.
Yeah.
And it didn't work.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fair.
yeah, at the end of the day, I don't disagree with what you're saying, because you can't argue with the fact that you got donged for 22 and then he's not bowled again. Like, you can't argue with the fact that it didn't work. All the pressure that was built up by Moeen within 2 balls of head, I can't remember, Warner or Head, whoever it was, smashing him out of the park twice. Pressure's gone. Like, you're then into a new realm, and that's where you need to have that communication with your bowler going, right, what are we doing now? We've made this choice. Can we change this now? So like when Yuvraj Singh was hitting Broad out the ground, or when Brathwaite was hitting Stokes.
Yeah.
There was no, right, the first 2 balls of this has happened. What are we doing? What are we doing differently?
Yeah.
It's just, and it's happened before, where it's just, right, let's just bat on. Let's just carry on. And it just keeps going and going and going and going and going. And that's where, for me, you need that thinker, that person that's going, and I'm sure they've got, I'll be honest, I think they probably did have a chat about it, and it's just not worked. It's just something has not worked. The next plan's not worked. Panic.
People are saying, you mentioned Buttler. So Buttler captains, but does not keep for the Rajasthan Royals. Should that be the case for England?
I think so, because he's a great fielder. But anyway, yeah. You're someone that does this more regularly. You used to be a keeper. Did you used to? Mike, what did you think?
Sorry, did you say I used to be a keeper?
Did you?
Never.
I thought you kept wicket last year.
Yeah, I kept wicket for some MDL games because there was no one else to stop the ball from going to the boundary. So when you say keeper, I'd classify myself as a stopper, but thank you for the kind words. Look, I agree with you. I don't think your captain should be your keeper. And for the reason that you've just pointed out, in them, being penalised and having to have another fielder inside,
Certainly not in short format cricket, where things are happening so quickly.
Exactly. I mean, and it's not like they don't have another keeper. Phil Salt's an excellent keeper.
Well, or Bairstow.
They've got about 5.
Yeah. On Bairstow, a lot of people saying Bairstow's done. Bairstow's a spent force. He's not great in the field. He's not quick between the wickets anymore. He's obviously had a horrible start with the bat in the tournament. Like, is it time to move on from Johnny Bairstow? Because I know you say maybe you drop either Jacks or Bairstow, but Jacks is in the England team for the long haul. And Johnny is, whether we like it or not, on his way out. Yes, he's done some amazing things in an England shirt, cross format, but if we're going to make room for Sam Curran, but when you say about batting Sam Curran at 5, would you then have Curran and Moeen 5 and 6, 2 left-handers together, or would you then maybe bat Curran at 6, maybe throw Moeen in at 3, Jacks goes 4, Brooks stays at 5?
I mean, people say Johnny Bairstow's on the way out. He's 34.
But he's not the player.
People have said he's been at. People, this is how Johnny Bairstow's been for the last 15 years. Ever since he first got into the England side, he is streaky as whatnot.
Yeah, no, we
when
know
he's
that.
good.
Yeah.
When he's good, he's excellent. When he's not, he looks rubbish. That's just how he's been. What you're hoping is, it wouldn't surprise me if he came out and I called Buttler as England's leading run scorer for the tournament. It wouldn't surprise me if Bairstow finished as England's second leading run scorer.
Yeah.
Because that's just how, there'll be someone writes a newspaper article about him and they're saying he's too fat for this. I mean, if the thing that makes me laugh about when people say cricketers are fat and slow, a lot of the so-called journalists that are writing about him, he's faster than they ever were and is a hell of a lot fitter than they ever were.
Oh.
So
let's compare him to themselves. They're comparing him to modern standards of the game.
Is he? Is he that slow?
No, he's not.
I don't know.
I think
that's why I'm asking.
I just think it's, for me, there's 2 things that Johnny Bairstow has always done this and has come back to play some amazing innings for England. The other one that for me is, I hate the idea that you're in a World Cup and you're going to go, yeah, but this guy's going to be in the squad for the next 10 years. We don't know.
All right, fair enough.
So pick your best players. And this
Okay,
is the thing.
can
I don't think England have picked their best players. They've tried to pick their form players, which I can understand. But then what that's meant is you've now picked 5 players that are batting out of position.
Can I maybe give a slightly different thought process on this? I think that the batsmen that are the current selection of the England team, they are amazing flat track bullies. When it comes to wickets that are doing a little bit, they are not the best people to be batting. And you would need, and you know what, I think, I can't remember if I said this to you guys or maybe some of the Twickenham boys. I think the Aussies might miss Smith and Marnus, because I remember that innings Marnus played in, I think it was the 50 World Cup, where he basically scored 50 off 100 balls or whatever and won them the game. And, you know, from my perspective, when it gets tough, you need to have a proper technique. Now, I'm sure the England boys do, but Bairstow's not one of those boys. He's a flat track bully. Anything cross bat, smokes it. Any invariable bounce, he's pretty much nowhere. Same as Livingston and a handful of the other guys. So I think that it'll be wicket dependent on whether England, you know, it sounds horrible, get through or not. But it, you know, unless they play proper cricket shots, and I mean, Miller's shown that from a South African point of view. You know, he hasn't tried to smash everything. Klaasen did that today. The England boys need to do that. They need to, you know, reassess and say 180 is not the score we need to be trying to set here. It's 130, and then hope the bowlers can defend it with, you know, a straight bat, because any cross bat, I think we've all said that tonight, any cross bat shots, they haven't yielded the results that they would have in the pitches that they've played in the IPL, as an example.
Are we concerned by Mark Wood?
Are we concerned for what? Sorry,
Mark Wood. I mean, he's not bowled well in either game so far. I mean, at least Jofra bowled well against Australia.
no, and it wouldn't surprise me. It won't surprise me if they dropped him. But well, to be fair, if you're going up against a man and Namibia, is it? Yeah, Namibia.
Yeah.
Then
they're not going to want to.
I'd be picking everyone that bowls it at 95 miles an hour, because they are never going to have seen anything like him.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting what Eugene said. Talk about South Africa are 3 from 3, and what South Africa have got is a guy who is expert at batting at number 5 and 6 in short format cricket.
Yeah,
he can play multiple ways. Australia have Glenn Maxwell, who, as much as people say, is just a dasher. Like, you've seen him in ODI cricket, he's developed his game an awful lot in order to be able to manipulate the ball and then still be able to go.
Stoinis, for that matter, yeah.
And Stoinis can do that. Marsh to a certain extent, but he tends to do it in one-day cricket where he bats further down the order. But anyway, South Africa, class and maybe not quite as much, but you look at how Tristan Stubbs batted the other day, played proper shot, looks like a proper player. England's best player for that is Jos Buttler. Now, I'm not saying England will never do this, because what it will show is it will give to the outside world that you're panicking. Whereas if you were to go, right, Buttler, you're batting at 4, and because he doesn't want to do it, then all of a sudden your batting lineup looks a slightly different dynamic. Whereas Jacks or Bairstow goes up the order, the other one bats at 3, Buttler bats at 4. I think if I was involved in this group, I would be looking at having that conversation, because the pitches that we're playing on, like Eugene said, on the belters that they need to be. And yeah, Buttler played very, very well. He got a bit unlucky. I mean, he biffed Zampa over long off for 6, then tried to reverse thing. If he's at most of the fielders that are fielding it backward point short third man, he gets 4 and he's 51 and off and running, or 46, whatever he got, 42, 43, whatever. So there's that debate to be had. I don't know. I think, to be fair, England have lost. They've got, if you were to say at the start of the tournament, after 2 games, those 2 games, right, Scotland rained off, got beat by Australia, you'd go, nah. Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But I think it's more the manner of it. It's more of the how poor they've been with the ball and the bat to a certain, well, the ball mainly, because against Australia on that pitch, fair enough. I don't think actually 160 was a bad score. It's with the ball where they got whopped around by the Scottish lads, and then they've got whopped even further by the Aussies.
Yeah. Well, England's next game is on Thursday, I believe, against Oman. Yeah, and look, we'll see. We'll know more by this time next week when we record again, won't we? Finally, for this evening, Simon, you must have something for us.
Well, given the question, I mean, I've created. There's a lot of questions that have gone into this. I wrote it down at the start, and then the more we've thought about it, one of these people might be at a funeral in his own for the options. But given the Mottler out start, I've gone. Who do we think England's next white ball coach should be?
Okay.
And I've gone 3 options.
But one of whom might fall down an elevator shaft in a West Indian hotel.
One who I think is currently highly likely to, probably not leaving the States, if I'm honest. It's far safer there. So, the ones I've gone for is next white ball coach. Option number 1, Brendan McCullum.
Okay.
Option number 2, Gary Kirsten.
Okay.
Option number 3, leave it as Matthew Mott.
Oh dear.
Or is there another standout at the minute? My name as a different option that I was going to throw out was Daniel Vettori.
Oh, I thought you said my name is a different option. I was like, fucking hell, your name is left field. I'm not sure you're getting the job.
Well, choose you over Matthew Mott, put it that way.
But Bob Key got a gig as the head of cricket from freaking nowhere. So,
he's done a good job, I think, personally. But anyway, right, okay. I thought when you said the other name, I thought you were going to throw Owen Morgan out.
It was going to be him or Matthew Mott were going to be my 2. All right, we'll change it. We'll line it up. If England get rid of Matthew Mott,
yeah,
are you going to go for Kirsten, Morgan, McCullum, or?
Okay, you want to go first?
I was going to go Morgs. I don't think he'd be a bad shout. He's that type of temperament. I think he'd need to find somebody else as captain. I will say that. I don't think Buttler and him will.
Big pals, though, aren't they?
Very big pals. But, hypothetically, England crash out. Is the England captain still going to be Buttler, or do they look to somebody else?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Morgan would be a great shout for the next England coach.
Brendan McCullum won't do it. I'm pretty sure of that because he is, well, by the end of the Ashes, next winter, isn't it? Not this winter coming, is it? It's 25-26, isn't it? He will then be done with the England test team, and I think he will then just go back and live in New Zealand rather. But, the reason that he didn't take on both roles was that he wanted to split his time and he wants to spend time with his young family. So that's not going to happen. Owen Morgan, I don't think will do it. I think he'll do it at some point, but I don't think he'll do it yet. And because I think he's got a very nice gig with Sky and can do whatever he wants. Like, he's probably going to have, I reckon, 5 or 10 years of just doing what he's doing now and enjoying it and still getting to be around cricket and watch cricket and probably, tell people this is how much he wants. But he can probably kind of keep writing his own checks at the minute as a pundit or summariser, commentator, whatever you want to call it. Kirsten, I think it'd be great, but I think the ECB have probably burnt that bridge by now because they've interviewed him for about the last 5 or 6 jobs that have been up for England and never given it to him. So if I was Gary Kirsten, I'd be half a mind to tell him to piss off. Vittori's obviously coming up through the ranks, involved with Australia at this World Cup. you know, I don't know. I think you look at someone a little bit maybe more left field, Stephen Fleming. They've approached punter before, but I just don't think he would be an England coach. So yeah, I don't really know what the answer is. Maybe I don't know. Is Gary Kirsten going to do it? Possibly. I think we can do it far worse. But yeah, I don't think there's any standout options there. There's none that I'm convinced would go, yeah, I want to do that job.
I'll throw an option out there.
Go on.
I don't think Morgan will do it. I don't think he put Buttler and the other guys in a position in the squad where he was having to make that decision for them next. I think he's too good a mate for them. And like you said, he's got too cushy a gig. I don't think, unless they went wild for like a Daniel Vittori or something like that, I don't think that would be a punt, and that'd have to be whatever. An option that I could see potentially happening is Gary Kirsten coming in and taking over the test side, and Brendan McCullum taking over the one-day side, or the short format side.
Possibly.
Just because I think what you've got now with Stokes is someone who's strong enough and believes in their way of doing things enough that someone like a Gary Kirsten, who is an incredible coach, would work very, very well with, especially with some of the younger players they've got bringing in at the minute. I think he can adapt the way he coaches you. You've been a franchise coach for however long, and he's coached South Africa. And I think Brendan McCullum working with Jos Buttler would work. Like we said this when we had the head coach coming up, and I said it's got to be when Joe Root went, and then there was that old Silverwood and whatever it was, or garbage. Like the coach and the captain have got to work so well together, and they've got to see the game the same way. So you're not getting mixed messages when you go out on the pitch. And I think what this England side have got in a minute is mixed messages, and whether that might be the case because of Gary Kirsten and how Pakistan want to play the game. I think that's just the nature of it. And with where this England side is at the moment, with the talent that it's got coming in, someone like a McCullum to go and say to that talent, off you go.
But McCullum, okay, for my money, McCullum's not going to do both roles for even 18 months.
No. I don't think he is. And which is why I've said I think what will happen is they'll. If I was Rob Key at the minute, I don't know what the schedule is for the next 50 over World Cup and the 20 over World Cup. There's probably going to be a 20 over World Cup in maybe December.
2 years. There's a World Cup every year, isn't there, until 2026? I think we said a few months back. I can't see Brendan McCullum wanting to leave Bazball until the end of the Ashes. I think that, so I just don't think that'll happen. I also don't think that Ben Stokes will carry on as captain after that Ashes. I think they will both pretty much finish their roles at the end of that cycle. And the only other thing that is, I think if England go out here at the group stage, I don't think Butler will be captain anymore. So I don't think whatever the new white ball coach is.
The thing for me is who's going to do it.
Well, I don't know, but I don't think either of them will survive. I don't think you can. If you're embarrassed by losing in the group stage in both format World Cups, when you're the holders of both format World Cups going into those respective World Cups, I don't think either the coach or the captain will be able to survive it.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think England will go through, so I don't think that'll be a.
But what is seen as an acceptable result in this World Cup for England, Eugene?
Semi-finals?
Yeah, at worst.
Yeah.
Robbo, what do you think? What's your answer? One word or two words?
Yeah, I'd say semis.
From where they are now.
But
semis.
by the same token, there was people. But by the way that like we came in, yes, we were older top it. We were coming with no form, no nothing. Like we're basing this over the fact that 2.5 years ago we won it.
Yeah, but also
in very different conditions.
Yeah, but also probably something to do with the scheduling. Like they didn't schedule. We've not played enough white ball cricket. You know, so that's
hogwash. That's absolute hogwash. They've just not played it as England.
Oh well, all right. Fine.
These guys are playing cricket every fucking 3 days.
Yeah, fine, but you know,
somewhere in the world.
Well, all right. I don't disagree with that, but what I'm saying is, as a group, in order to, you know, you can't all come from, but you know, you couldn't. All right, let's take Middlesex, the Middlesex League Premier League. You can't have 11 blokes from 11 different Premier League sides come together for a tournament at the end of the summer, having played 22 weeks of cricket, and just expect them to be awesome like that.
You could if you had.
It's all relative. Huh?
You could if you had a good coach, and you took all of those strengths and made them, you know.
Well done, Eugene. But yeah, but so that's the problem. We haven't got a good coach. Maybe that's it.
Well, you look at the fact that what's happened before, like in the past, and like the West Indies have got some players that are like have decided not to bother playing in God knows what, and have then rocked up for this. They were chomping at the bit to get Sunil Narayan, who now seems to be only able to do things in the first 8 overs of a T20 game. Never mind anything else. Like he's taken short format cricket to a whole new level. Only bowls or bats when a single digit. Like it's bonkers. But I don't. Like these guys are professional cricketers. The difference being that you're going to take Middlesex Premier League cricketers, and that's because they're not doing it every day. Like they train twice a week and they'll do whatever. These guys bat, bowl, field, drill every day.
Yeah, I still think,
and it's not too much.
I still think there's something in being apart around the same squad. I really do.
And there might be a little bit. But these guys they've been sacked off from. They decided not to play in the most important stages of the biggest tournament in the world because they wanted to go come and watch it rain in the UK. Like so, they've only got. You can say it's scheduling. It didn't take a genius to look at the weather forecast and go, actually, are we not perhaps better off having our guys playing in the biggest games in the world, or shall we have them sat in Durham in 4 degrees, watching it rain, batting on more flat indoor pitches because that's where they're training. Right.
Our geniuses or genii asked Matthew Mott to be the coach. Do you think they've got the wherewithal to look at a weather forecast and decide what's best to do based on that? I mean, they've got no chance.
Yeah, you're saying Robert Key's done a great job.
I think Matthew Mott's his one mistake. I think otherwise he's done well. To be fair. I'm a fan of Rob Key.
He's got a quick question. He's only had to make 2 appointments, and he's got a 50% strike rate. That's not flash, is it?
Yeah, I mean, he does other things as well as making appointments. Robert.
Who was the T20 coach when England won it? Because I can't tell you that, but I can tell you who the captain was.
Andy Flower and Paul Collingwood.
But I can tell you who the captain was because it felt like he was coaching and captaining at the same time.
Collingwood.
No more.
Right, and he's out there now.
I'm talking 2010.
Oh no.
Right, Morgan and Silverwood.
You see, this is what I was saying. I couldn't even tell you who the coach was.
Bayliss. It was Bayliss, was it? It'd have been Bayliss.
This is my point. We just know Morgs was running.
What, when they won the last T20 one?
Yeah.
Was it not Buttler?
No, coach.
Coach.
Oh no, it was Buttler.
It was Buttler. I'm talking the 50 over was Morgs. Buttler was. But remember, that was so close together that they were just coming off the coattails of the 50 World Cup, right?
Yeah, that was Morgan and Bayliss and Buttler and
must have been Bayliss.
Bayliss, was it?
But my point there is that, you know, it felt like Morgan was doing everything from that T20 because you remember there was also those politics about him not letting some of the lads play in the test side because he wanted to get everybody ready for the white ball format, if you remember.
World Cup. Yeah.
So he was running the show.
Oh yeah. And they used to have that thing where they would put a number and a letter up, wouldn't they, to decide on matchups and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Morgan is a captain, genius, no question. I just don't think that. I think he probably will be England coach at some point in the future. I just don't think we'll see it for.
And
like Robert said, he's so close to a lot of the lads that it wouldn't be the right time for him to do it anyway. He needs to go in and coach a new generation in probably, I'd say, 10 years, something like that, maybe. But anyway, look, brilliant chat, lads. Really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed disagreeing with Simon. It's amazing. For those of you that don't know us well or even at all, Simon and I actually agree on the majority of things when we're together. Just always seem to disagree on this. But yeah, thanks very much for tuning in. We will be back this time next week. We will know more about England, probably a bit more about where the captain and coach, are they going to stay, are they going to go, depending on whether we've managed to get through the group stage or not. But gents, thanks very much, and we will get back together next week. Until then, see ya.
Bye.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
We are audiostack.ai.
Combining AI writing, the best synthetic voices,
with production and delivery.
Be it ads, podcasts, or VOs for video.
Just like this ad.
How would you utilize AI audio? For free.
go to audiostack.ai/contest.
Give us just a few details.
And you could replace this spot and be heard by millions.
See webpage for T's and C's. audiostack.ai/contest.